Welcome to Capital Currents, where the flow of business news and market trends keeps you ahead of the tide. I am your watchdog, and today is Tuesday, August 19th. In today's episode, Sam Altman thinks that AI might be a bubble then, why Novo Nordisk stock is getting a big bump this morning. The stock market is coming off another winning week from last week, with both the S&P 500 and NASDAQ sitting at record highs. Now, this market rally seems to be driven by the hype that the Fed is going to cut interest rates in the September meeting. There's currently an 80% chance of a September rate cut, according to the CME FedWatch tool. And this week, we might get another major clue about whether that's actually going to happen. The Fed is having their annual retreat in Jackson Hole, Wyoming this week. Central bankers from all over the world gather in Jackson Hole and, discuss monetary policy. Now, to be clear, the Fed doesn't make any official rate decisions at the Jackson Hole meeting, but all eyes are going to be on Fed Chair Jerome Powell, who's going to give a big speech on Friday. I'm sure the markets are going to be dissecting every word, every pause, every time he clears his throat for hints about the September rate cut. Like I said yesterday, this week, we're going to learn more about the health of the U.S. consumer, because we are getting earnings from giant retailers like Walmart, Home Depot, and Target. These reports are basically like a report card on the health of the U.S. consumer. Investors pay close attention to them and on the earnings call, listening for any hints about consumer slowdown, what people are actually buying, and if tariffs are impacting prices. Let's run through some headlines, starting with Sam Altman. The CEO of OpenAI thinks that we're in an AI bubble right now. At least that's what he told a reporter at The Verge during a dinner this past week. He thinks that we're in a phase where investors as a whole are overexcited about AI, but he followed that up by saying that AI is the most important thing to happen in a very long time. He's saying mixed signals, but he's also not shying away from the fact that the AI hype might be a bubble. In that conversation with The Verge, Altman compared today's hype cycle to the dot-com bubble of the late 90s. Back then, everyone piled into internet stocks, but many of those companies weren't making money or profit. So when the bubble finally popped, the NASDAQ dropped 80% from its peak. Fast forward to today, there's some similar signs. The NASDAQ has doubled since the December 2022 lows, and big tech now makes up nearly 40% of the NASDAQ 100 index. In fact, NVIDIA alone accounts for over 6% of the entire index. And if you look at the private markets, it is insane. AI startups are getting insane valuations, even though they haven't shown a business model that works. Sure, their revenues are growing at a crazy rate, but they're not making any profit. OpenAI themselves is a great example of this. They're on track to make over $20 billion in revenue this year. They have over 700 million weekly active users, but yet the company is still unprofitable. But that hasn't stopped their valuation from ballooning to $500 billion. Now, if or when this bubble is going to pop is hard to tell, because every big tech company outside of Apple are spending like crazy on AI chips and infrastructure. Current estimates are that these big tech giants are planning to spend $364 billion in AI capex this year. We're going to have to see if all this spending ends up being worth it. For now, investors are okay with it. In fact, I think the market seems to be encouraging it. But when the guy running the company who started this AI revolution says that things are getting a bit too frothy, that might be worth noting. Let's shift gears and talk about another company trying to justify their valuation, Novo Nordisk. The Danish pharma giant just scored a big win from the FDA. Their blockbuster weight loss drug Wegovy has been approved to treat a serious liver disease called MASH, which affects about 5% of U.S. adults. This makes Wegovy the first GLP-1 drug cleared to treat a liver disease. Now, investors were loving this news because this opens up a massive new market for Novo Nordisk. Instead of just selling their drugs to people who want to lose weight or manage their diabetes, they can now target liver disease patients too. Novo Nordisk shares jumped 5% on this news, which was desperately needed. The stock has lost more than 2/3 of its value since their peak back in June of last year. Here's the thing, though, Novo Nordisk's exclusivity on this treatment won't last long. Eli Lilly is hot on their heels. They've had positive trial data for their own MASH treatment using trizepatide. That's the ingredient in their Mounjaro and Zepbound weight loss drugs. So the competition with Eli Lilly isn't going anywhere. The bigger picture here, though, for both these companies is that GLP-1 drugs are evolving way beyond just weight loss these days. We're talking about treatments for heart disease, kidney problems, and now liver conditions. In fact, Eli Lilly estimates that 170 million Americans could benefit from these GLP-1 drugs. Right now, only about 8 million are currently taking them. That's all the business headlines I have for you. Let's take a look at some stocks. Soho House shares are jumping after the members-only club announced that it's going private in a $2.7 billion deal. Now, I feel like Soho House had a lot of buzz a few years ago, but I think the hype has kind of faded a bit. In fact, the company stock is down about 40% since they IPO'd back in 2021. So now a group of investors are coming in led by the hotel operator MCR, and they're buying out shareholders at $9 a share. MCR owns and operates 150 fancy hotels all over the US, and maybe they can turn things around at the Soho House. Soho House shares are up more than 16% this morning on this news. Now on the flip side, Tesla stock is slipping this morning on reports that the EV maker is offering some serious deep discounts on leases over in the UK. According to the London Times, Tesla is doing this to clear out a backlog of inventory. This fire sale from Tesla comes after the company reported a 12% sales drop last month, with Elon warning that some tough quarters are ahead. We'll have to see if these discounts are enough to get the cars moving off the lot, but either way, it can't be great for their profit margins. That's all for today's show. Keep navigating those waters and see you tomorrow.